Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of the Public Works Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Silsby, for this episode. We're here in downtown Fort Lauderdale with a special guest, Brad Kaine. We appreciate your time today, Brad. And we've got some great views out here. We're downtown. We're looking south this way, and then as we look to the east here, this is out to the ocean. So great view there. Fort Lauderdale has more than 165 miles of canals running through the city, more inland waterways than almost any other city in America. We think of Venice, Italy when I look at things like this, and this is actually called the Venice of America, I believe.
Absolutely.
And here, public works isn't just about paving roads and fixing pipes. It's managing a relationship between land and water every single day. We were just chatting about how water impacts the area. My guest today spent more than 2 decades in South Florida government and recently took the helm of one of the region's most complex public works agencies. So let's get into this episode. Please like this episode, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel as we welcome Brad Kaine.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. We really appreciate your time. So tell us a little bit, Brad, what's behind the title for you? For folks who haven't crossed paths with you at a conference or an event, how would you describe yourself to somebody if you're just hanging out at an event, backyard barbecue, whatever the case might be? Somebody has no idea what a public works director does or what you're up to. What do you tell them? How do you get into it?
That's a great question to ask, because when I got back into this field originally, I had no idea what it was either. So the way I describe public works to people is we're really the backbone of every municipal government. It's just we do a little bit of everything. We touch every department in the city. We touch all of our residents. And it's about really the core of it is infrastructure, keeping infrastructure intact, creating new infrastructure so you can sustain your stormwater systems and your drinking water with water plants and things of that nature, and your roadways, and making sure the daily lives of our residents are impacted in positive ways by all that we do. And people don't always realize it. And it's even just our guys going down Broward Boulevard and picking up trash to keep Broward looking pristine on a day-to-day basis, because it's one of the corridors into our city. So I tell people we just do everything. We're like the fix-all. If somebody has something that's not working, usually it's a public works thing. So that's how I would describe this field in the past 20-something years that I've worked in it. It's extremely interesting, and it's been an exciting venture.
Yeah, you're out there. You're probably the first call for many things, and you've had to do that in multiple agencies. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career. As you said, more than 20 years at this point, you've served in a number of cities. I'm not going to go through them. I'm going to let you take us through your journey. Tell us what was interesting as you went through, and then how you ended up in the role here in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, the journey's been really interesting. I think I started my career back in the early 2000s. I applied for a job in the city of Deerfield Beach. I had been working for the state of Florida in a very low-level capacity. I was very young at the time. And the job was called, assistant to the public works director. No idea what that meant. I had a master's degree in public administration. I really thought I was going to be like a budget and finance director. It really, I think, was the trajectory that I envisioned myself. And the funny thing about this opportunity was a very close friend of my mom actually lived right next to the assistant city manager of Deerfield Beach. And she mentioned to him that I had applied for this job. And I think his answer was, if he makes it through the process towards the end, maybe I can put in a positive word or something, and things like that. And remarkably, I came through that whole process. I did get to the end. And so a little bit of maybe divine intervention happened there. And I ended up starting my career as the assistant to the public works director in Deerfield Beach. And it was a really unique opportunity. It's a very diverse community with a lot of different residents, employees, and it really helped me get a good understanding of what public works was, because I really had no idea what it was at the time. But what was really, I think, extremely beneficial to me, and not everybody always gets these opportunities, but at a very young age, and I was thrown into some higher level roles that the director felt like I could handle in management and leadership of some of the divisions that we had in the public works department. And his faith and belief, I think, in my ability, even though I didn't come from the field and I didn't start as a maintenance worker or anything like that, but I just came out of school, he just saw some things in me that allowed me to start to grow a little bit in a management role. And I think those experiences really set the foundation for me for just the love I started to develop of public works. And at an early age in my career, I I got very involved in the American Public Works Association. The South Florida branch was really defunct for a long time, and it was just starting to come back. And I got involved and I started meeting other people and professionals. And I was so young, I was just trying to be a sponge and learn from a lot of my friends who were much older than me, but had so much experience. And I think part of that and getting involved in that organization and then eventually becoming on the board and then being on the board and being the chair and being, today happen to be my second stint as being the chair of the South Florida branch for APWA. It's been a whirlwind, and things can come full circle. You get other opportunities in your life to do it again. But I think a lot of those things, and I think having someone that really, as a boss, as a director of an organization that was 178 employees, I think at the time, doing its own solid waste collection, everything was really in-house. I learned so much, and it allowed me to make mistakes, and it allowed me to grow. And it just started to take me on this journey that I'm still on to this day and continuing it. And it's been just a fabulous whirlwind for me. And I can't tell you how much I love this profession, how much I love what I do every day, but the value also of being involved in APWA and that organization has just been so immensely beneficial to me in my whole career. That's kind of how it started.
Yeah, you are proving the point that we find a lot in that there are many different ways into public works. There's not just one path, and all the way from people working in the field to executive levels. So that's interesting. So from Deerfield Beach, and take us through your next step and how we got to this.
Yeah, I worked in Deerfield Beach for about 5 years, a little over that. And again, not knowing much about government, it was a pretty wild place at the time. So I learned a lot of different things, more so than I ever could have imagined. Things I was asked to do at different times I thought were normal. And then obviously years later and working in other cities, I realized that was not really the norm, what you're supposed to be doing. But again, it was a little bit of a wild place at the time. You just went and do what you're told and get the job done. And I was always about getting the job done. But I had an opportunity to then move to a city called Parkland, which is a smaller community, very close to Deerfield. I basically lived on the borderline of that community anyways at the time. And the city manager at the time was a college professor of mine who actually lived in Fort Lauderdale, ironically, and was involved in Fort Lauderdale government for years, offered me to be the first assistant director in that department because they saw it was growing and the needs were more and they had never had one. So I just felt like it was a really great opportunity for me at that time in my career. And I went there, and of course, my luck being there in 2004, get hit by a hurricane called Hurricane Francis. You just kind of freeze, I think, at that point because it's never happened. But I think one of the really great things about going through that experience and trying to make sure that I did everything I could to clean the city up in an expedient amount of time was I talked to some of my friends in other cities, hey, what do you got? And I think from that, and then I just happened to be a little lucky that the owner of a disaster company lived in that city and was able to offer some help. And it was through that we were really able to go through and clean up the city pretty efficiently. And it was a really great learning experience for me because never having been through anything like that and being in a small enough city, you had to be the front end piece to just get it all started, and then the back end piece on the financial to get it all back. And we did recover pretty much most of the funds that we expended at that point, but we dotted all our I's, crossed all our T's, made all our arguments, and eventually the city was successful in recovering that. And then 2004 hit Hurricane Jeanne. So 2 hurricanes while I was there. So I maybe thought it was me. I just come here and now the city's getting knocked around by 2 hurricanes. And then the crazy part was I really enjoyed it working there, but there was a really great opportunity for me. The city of Weston, which is a contractually run city, and they had only 3 city employees at the time, was really looking for somebody to then now head up their public works operation. And I started there. I was a little apprehensive because it was in a private company and I didn't really know how that all was. I did take the job because it was a great opportunity, and then I'm now running the utility as well, semi, because we got our water from the city of Sunrise, but we had an active utility maintenance operation where we went out and if there was a break or things like that, we'd go out and make repairs and stuff like that. And I went there and I started to think maybe it's me, because then in 2005, Hurricane Wilma comes along. And that was more devastating. That was almost a Cat 2 hurricane. I believe at the time, I think it caused 20 some odd $20 million in damage in the city. It was very challenging. And in fact, 2 days before that, on top of all my luck, I was in a car accident that totaled the city vehicle. So this is a great start to my job, literally a couple months in. And then when this hurricane hits, I was kind of like, either things are going to go really great and I'm going to come out of this, I'm going to get a big raise and it's all going to be good, I'm going to get fired. Because I hadn't been through the level. The first two hurricanes that happened before were very minor. They did a little bit of damage. It was landscaping mostly. This was way more challenging. There was facilities in our park lighting that was all over the place, just all kinds of different things. I was dealing with FHWA roadways, which was a whole other challenge. You had to deal with the Florida Department of Transportation. There were just numerous things that had popped up in the scenario that were different. The city had a contractor with a debris hauling firm that just was non-responsive.
Oh, wow.
So on top of everything else, I couldn't get them to pick up. You get in a little panic in something like that, but I went to the folks that I used the previous year and I reached out to them. Obviously, I knew the owner because he lived in Parkland and close. And thankfully, by the good fortune, he sent an entourage and it worked out to be very successful. It was a 7-8 month operation. The entire city got cleaned up. We were able to recover the majority of our money. And I felt like I had been through 3 wars back-to-back years, and I was starting to think, it must be me because this never happened before. So I think that going through those kind of experiences in your career, it builds character. You really have to develop really thick skin to go through these kind of things because they are very life-changing to people. In Hurricane Wilma, there was no power for a significant period of time, 10, 12 days. We actually ran the EOC out of the city manager's house because there was a small little grid in Weston that kept power because it was attached to a hospital.
Oh.
So I worked out of his house.
Wow.
It was all kinds of crazy things that were happening back then. I think it teaches you lessons. And from that experience, the positive was that the city felt that they needed better accountability. So we changed our structure at that point in time and it went from 3 city employees and created 10. And then I became the first public works director as a city employee that the city ever had. So I felt really great to be given that opportunity. And I ended up spending a good 7.5 years working there. And it really was an incredible opportunity. And I'm always thankful for that and just being able to get through those kind of challenges. And during that tenure, I got to serve also as the chair of the South Florida branch of APWA during that. So it was really a lot of good things during those years. Even despite 2008, 2009, you started to get into the real crisis of America we had with housing and stuff like that. Yeah. But I'll tell you, all of those things that I went through and just the challenges and really having to dig down inside and find ways to be creative to get these things done. And at the end of the day, the results were extremely positive and we were very successful. That was something that to this day I'll always take as such an accomplishment because there were really a lot of challenges that were put in front of me. And I've found that over the years, I've just thrived under pressure. I'm used to it. I enjoy it. I don't get nervous. I don't think twice about it. You just have to make decisions as a public works director and you live with those decisions at the end of the day. And I'd rather know I made a decision and I'll deal with it if it wasn't the right one at the end, versus not make decisions. In this field, you have to be sure of yourself. You have to be confident and you have to know that you can make those tough decisions. That's what we're asked to do all the time in this profession.
And you're building on experience, right? It's hard to go to a course or get a certification in hurricane management and all of that. You have to go through it to understand what really happens when you have no power, you have no resources, can't get to people. You got to go through one of those to develop that.
Absolutely. And I wish I didn't have to go through 4 of them, but it really helps build your foundation in terms of trying to really understand what goes on at the federal level of government. You learn so much more at the state and things like that, things I never even knew of or thought of or contemplated. It's why I always try to go to the Governor's Hurricane Conference here every year. It's just very invaluable. That's why we do things at APWA, at our conference, that helps people understand this, because in South Florida, that was the last real event. And that was 2005. So you're talking 20 years. Yeah. So a lot of people who have come into the profession since then, they don't really know what that is. They've never experienced it other than 2017 when Irma hit, and that was more of a resource issue than really significant. So people haven't really seen what a major hurricane can do, and we've hopefully will continue like that. But the challenges that come with it and the more complexities at the federal level of government with Homeland Security and FEMA, they're harder today than they were back in 2005. It's important in our roles to always be keeping up to date with that stuff, to making sure you have a thorough understanding of if something happens, what you have to do, what you can do versus what you can't do, and making sure you're also sharing knowledge with staff. So I always encourage people. I'm very big on training in my own department. I've always been, and I think that is really the key. You can never have too much knowledge. You can never say just because you've been through stuff for 20 years that you know everything. You don't. You're always learning in this business. There's never a day I wake up and say, I just know everything. I don't need to go to training. I go to a lot of leadership stuff. I go to public works summits. I go to APWA National. And it's an exciting year because we're getting to actually do a film series this year that we're featured in for it. So it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to Houston and doing that. It's these things that our professional organization has so much to offer its members. And we really, as directors, we need to take advantage of those things, and we really need to share and not just keep it at our level, but it needs to be shared within our organization so people can grow too. Because you want people to grow. You want to surround yourself with great talent, and you want to see those people thrive to be directors someday. That's what good leadership is, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's a quick plug for the American Public Works Association National Conference in Houston at the end of August 2026. So hope to see you there. So that was a lot of stuff that happened just to get through Weston, and then you shifted from there back to the coast again. Is that right?
Well, I had a little stop in there, and I actually worked in the private sector for 3 years. Okay. And I did that because it was an incredible opportunity to work for a man named Ron Bergeron Sr, who is one of the biggest land developers here in South Florida in a lot of different businesses. He has rodeos named after him. He was just such an iconic person to have the opportunity to meet and then get to work with on a close level, as well as his son, Lonnie. They also have a hurricane component to their company, but it was just a really neat opportunity because they were in the disposal business, and I knew a lot about it at Broward from all my time here. And so to be their government municipal services director while they were picking up in cities to offer some competition in disposal. There's a monopoly for a long time here in Broward County, so it was a really good venture that I thought he did. And again, to be able to work with someone just who's so philanthropic, who's such a giving person, who really taught me some really great values and an understanding of private sector, which I didn't have. That little stop along the way, I'd take that for the rest of my career, and I would never trade that because it was an amazing opportunity. And it stayed in kind of the lane I was in, which was in government. So it was a lot familiar, but I learned a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, I think after 3 years, I missed being in local government. It's just what I do. I'm a public works guy. Yeah. So I had an opportunity then to go back to Dania Beach, another coastal city. That seems to be a theme with me in a lot of my career. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy it. I worked under a city manager named Bob Baldwin, who was just a great guy. And I had a really enjoyable time there, and again, dealt with another hurricane when I was there. But that was not as challenging as cleaning up as it was more just getting resources to clean it up. In 2017, and we were talking about earlier, there was a shortage of that because there were so many different events happening at the time Irma was going on, and Irma also hit 42 counties in Florida. So it made for some challenges, but we got through it, and it wasn't a significant event, but it was challenging with resources. And you learn a lot from these things. Each different event that you go through teaches you a little bit something different, and I think it helps prepare you more and more for these kind of things in the future if you have to deal with them, and it makes you stronger and gives you a better, hey, this is what I learned and how to prepare, and if you need more resources on your own internally to deal with stuff. That's what a lot of the stuff taught me over the years. So I really relished my time on Dania Beach, and then there was this great opportunity to go to Miami Beach. Who would ever not want to work in an iconic city like Miami Beach? Yeah. Ocean Drive and Miami Vice and all kinds of great stuff there. And I had some good relationships down there. I went there to be not the public works director, but their sanitation division director, which was a pretty big role. I had over 220 people under me. It was an amazing experience. I got to work there for 4 years. in that capacity, and just was great. The city has such a history, a great place to learn, work, and I learned so much about the beach. And you couldn't imagine that 7 square miles of any place could feel like you're in Midtown Manhattan. But you get that feeling in Miami Beach because everything is so right on top of each other. It's a dynamic cultural arts and just entertainment and just all kinds of great events that come to Miami Beach because it's just so well known with great hotels. Art Basel Week, just being able to see all the great art that comes out during that event. It was really a fantastic opportunity. And to cap it off, in my last year, I had the privilege of being the interim public works director for the last year that I was there. And that was just such an amazing experience. Just got to work even closer with the elected officials on different things and projects. I enjoyed every single day, even though the commute was far, and just being in that environment and getting to work with those kind of challenges that you have there, because they're a city that's also very low-lying. Flooding is daily and basically in rainy season. I learned even more there. Again, we get our water supply from Miami-Dade County there, but we do have our own utility operation as well, and we had a lot of responsibilities. So there were some really unique challenges and things that I got to learn and we worked on, and just being resilient and doing great capital projects there that continue to make the infrastructure stronger. We had a weird one when the last year that I was there. It was, we call it like a rain bomb on a Sunday. Wasn't expecting any rain, but it just caused such flooding and we had to respond. And I was not here. I happened to be away on vacation and my phone was off the hook in Universal Studios where I was in Orlando. That's part of the job. And I think that's some of the sacrifices you make when you get into these roles in public works. They talk about cities that never sleep. This is a career that never sleeps.
24/7.
24/7.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about it. There's always something new going on every day. And the challenges that I had there have really helped me. When there was this opportunity then to come back to Fort Lauderdale last summer, Broward's been my home for most of my career. And Fort Lauderdale was just one of the coastal communities I had never gotten a chance to work in. I had some friends that have worked here, so I knew about it and I knew about its challenges in the last 5 years. And I'm a guy that likes challenges. Give me a chance to come in and make things better, because I feel my whole career, no matter what I've done, I've always felt I've left the place better than when I got there. We learn. It's a family. I don't ever view it as just professional acquaintances. This organization and what we strive to do and our motto is, it's just family. We all are here for each other. You have mutual aid agreements with other cities and things like that. But the relationships that you form from being in APWA, just being on the board down here, I happen to participate at the state board as well. I'm the chair of solid waste for the state for APWA. So it's the relationships that you make even in the Florida chapter. The cool thing about our organization too is this year, the first time in 30 something years, the president of the American Public Works Association National is a Florida person.
Yeah, Mr. Garland.
Mr.
Right?
Garland, I've known for 20 years. Just being involved in the organization and having that is just really cool. This organization is so exciting because it creates not just working relationships, but it creates friendships for life that you have with people who have all gone through similar things and experiences. And it makes for just really great bonding that you never break because we've all been through this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And diving into Fort Lauderdale a little bit, we were showing their award here. I don't know if you want to talk about this a little bit. You guys were proud of this when we came in. Branch Wastewater Project of the Year Award. So for your
Absolutely. Coming off being part of one in the city of Miami Beach that we were able to get under my leadership, we applied for one here for a great project. It's basically a connection for a water main line from Prospect Lake to our 5-ash plant. And how critical it is because it helps facilitate the 50 million gallons of drinking water daily that the new Prospect Lake water plant is going to supply once it's complete, which will be at the end of September, which then doesn't become my problem anymore. It goes to our utility director, Al Carbon. So I'm excited to have that change. The Prospect Lake project that's going to be featured a little bit in our film series was an innovative, almost close to $700 million P3 project, which has been a really cool public-private partnership that we have multiple partners in, and creating basically a nanofiltration ion exchange technology type innovative water plant that is going to really help improve the water quality here. And also, hopefully, through this process, it's going to take away that little yellowish color that we sometimes see in the water here, and hopefully it just disappears. A lot of effort and thought that's gone into putting a plant like that together. The city's been very positive with how the project has gone, and the fact that we've been able to keep it pretty much on schedule and that it's going to be done by the end of September. It's really a credit to everybody who's worked on that project. And under our utility director's leadership, it's going to really flourish from there on. And I'm happy just to be a part of it. It's been an exciting project, and I'm sure next year we will be submitting a lot of awards for it, for a project of that magnitude. And what it's going to do at the end of the day, it's really amazing and very innovative in our world. And the way we did the project is really innovative. Having that P3 partnership has really helped expedite getting the project done. It's going to be a great service and benefit to the residents when it's fully operational.
Okay. So you mentioned the utilities director. So if you wouldn't mind, Brad, telling us how Public Works breaks down for Fort Lauderdale, like
Sure.
what's under your department.
So coming here, my first task was splitting Public Works up.
Oh,
And we had 502 employees when I started, and it included the utilities, all of our water plants, and utility operation with all of our lift stations. And that was tasked with me to try to get that done in July of last year and have it hopefully put in place by October. So it was a really cumbersome process, but the staff that I had and all of us working really hard together, we were able to accomplish it. We moved 325 people over into utilities. There was a utility director that the city manager at the time brought in, who was a former public works director. The drinking water, wastewater, all that went over there. And all of the stormwater operations stayed here, along with solid waste, recycling, capital projects, everything that's vertical now, fire stations and stuff like that, that's handled by our capital projects. And they do park bonds as well. So we had some shifting of things. We took 60 people from parks into our sanitation operation, and that was put under one of our staff managers who's done a phenomenal job in reconciling a lot of responsibilities and making that more effective. It's been very challenging. Imagine the first 6 months of your time, instead of being able to really take a 30,000 look above and where do I got to move some pieces, I'm moving an entire department and shifting it and moving other pieces to the other areas. I commend the team because everybody, played a part in that. The outcome has been really great, and we still work really closely with utilities. We work really closely with parks because those are the two departments where some of the staff went. Now we're working even more closer with our CIP department, just on transitioning some certain things as well. So a lot of transition, and that's okay. It's tough to be able to sometimes be a great leader when you have a lot of challenges, and the city's since 2017 has had a lot of challenges with its infrastructure, and all kinds of different things have happened. This probably made it a little bit more palatable to be more effectively managed, and having the two departments split. They're both still pretty decent sized departments. That change has been very positive, and having the support of the city manager's office and doing all that, and our elected officials, I can't tell you how critical that has been in our successes. Now we're moving along and we're focusing on bigger things with our own operation, and it's been great. I have to commend all of the staff that have different responsibilities that they didn't have before and stepping into newer roles. And that's what I really love to see, people wanting to step up and take those challenges when we ask them to, because sometimes it's not always easy and people aren't always comfortable doing that in government. We get used to being in a certain pattern and we don't really want to make change, but people here can walk in my office whenever they want, in our assistant director's offices. And that's how it has to be, because managing any size operation of hundreds of people, you need to be an open communicator. And I think that doing that and sharing your vision with your team and hearing what they have to say and allowing them the freedom to do things as they see fit to make changes that are more positive, that's what it's all about. I never believed in a dictatorial approach to being an administrator, but being able to, hey, this is what I've created. I think this is going to take us to the next step, and just going with that, embracing it. And I think that's what good leaders do.
Yeah, good point. So you brought up the elected officials here as part of this. I just want to orient people to how it kind of works here in Fort Lauderdale. You have commissioners here, 4 districts. You just want to explain how it works. Are there 4 total? Do you have an at-large?
So the way it works is there are 4 districts. So each person who is elected in office in their district, you have to live there, and they run just in their districts. The commissioner in District 4, they're not really worried about what's happening in District 1. The only one who has the overall is the mayor, because that's at large. It works well because I came from a place in Miami Beach where it wasn't like that. Commissioners basically could run anywhere at large, or just seats.
All at large.
So you get your traffic and email, your traffic and requests, your traffic and issues is so much higher because you hear it from all of them, and it can be all about the same thing. Here it's very limited to specific things just about in their district. And it makes for a very easy communication chain. They're all wonderful individuals to work with. The thing I've learned here is there's just such a strong passion for community. You don't always see that in local government, but here it's very strong, and a strong commitment to community and making lives better. And that's a big thing for me in public works. You do this in public service because you have a passion and because you care about people. No matter what, whether it's just somebody had a missed garbage pickup, someone has a broken sidewalk in front of their house, there's a pothole over here, anything they think that you can do to help somebody and make their life better. And it's just things like that, and knowing that they really appreciated that and it improved the quality of their life and their street is better or whatever it is, or you were able to come up with a little fix for a flooding issue. It goes such a long way. I can tell you over the years, they're so thankful when you can just do this thing. And sometimes in local government, it's just responding. Yeah. It's just acknowledging. And maybe I always can't give you the right answer because I can't do what you want, but at least I can tell you and talk to you and explain to you why I can. And also when we can fix things. People are happy at the end of the day because they just want to be talked to and get some kind of response. You always hear so much where people aren't responded to in local government. Right. They're ignored and their frustrations go through the roof, and it's just a situation where it becomes intolerable, and then government gets a bad rep for that. But I think there are a lot of people who work in this profession who are completely professional and stand up and they do respond. And we always want to, again, try to make it best for our residents every single day.
Sure. All right. So speaking of community, we're looking out to the south here, and I was walking a little bit this morning and looking at some of the channel or canal systems. They're structural in nature, right? They're not natural. So that's unique, I think, for a community to have all of those, 126 miles. I know it's split who manages those, but do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because flooding's got to be right there. I can see the water level could easily go up, tidal influence, storm influence.
Yeah.
How does that work for you?
I think in every municipality that you work in, there's always unique challenges, more so in coastal communities than not, to deal with a lot of these issues relating to all our water bodies and waterways. There was a lot of innovative thinking prior to me getting here, and they created something called the Chief Waterway Officer. And we just hired a new one, and he actually just started Monday. And that person is really a go-to person for what's going on in the waterways. Obviously, we want to keep the waterways clean. And we have contracts to work on the waterways and clean them and things like that. But when you have this many, you kind of need to have someone with eyes and ears out there in the community and visible. That's, I think, a lot of what's behind the rationale for hiring a position like that. It's very unusual, but again, Fort Lauderdale is very unique in those ways. And that individual is going to do a lot of great things, interact with the community, provide a lot of great knowledge. They're an environmental person, so they understand the challenges in different areas. Sometimes people complain, they see stuff in the water, we don't know what it is. And he's kind of has a really good background and knowledge, and to be able to help provide a lot of the answers to those things. One other unique position we have here, and it's through a grant, it's a pump out vessel attendant. And that position is going to be a benefit to people who have issues with sewage and stuff on the waterways, and they can call that person. We're going to roll out some marketing for that, and so people know how to get in touch with them. We have some unique positions here that help with some of the waterway challenges that we have in the city, and you're dealing with so much of it. Like you said, we feel it's like the Venice of the United States. We have a Marine Advisory Board, so they participate in that. Also, Fort Lauderdale is known as the Yachting Capital of the world. The water here is real important. The challenges you have with those things, particularly in king tides at different times, are going to be unique. We always are looking to see what we can do, whether it's create some infrastructure in areas that can help, in addition to the big giant Fortify projects that we have that are improving stormwater and hardening our infrastructure across the city. It's unique in that regard, working in coastal communities my whole career, understanding turtles and turtle lighting and all that in South Florida. They're challenges, and Broward County and Dade are a little different, Overall, the challenge is you can only clean the beaches at certain times in the morning. You have the seaweed, sargassum, which is always a fun topic to have to deal with that as well. But again, we have a very rigorous maintenance team in our department, and we work really hard on that, and staff to make sure we keep the beaches as pristine as we can, because everybody wants to come to the beach. Everybody,
Sure.
It's our, hey, come to us. We have beautiful beaches. We have beautiful water. Everything here is pristine, and that's what they want. And so we work really hard from a maintenance perspective to keep that, because we want to have a positive image. We want to have the cleanest beaches. We want to make sure that people come here, not just the residents of our community, but people coming from other places, coming to Fort Lauderdale, and a place that's just pristine and beautiful, and seeing that the city cares that much. And that's important to me, because we want to make sure we uphold those standards. My bar is always here. It's never being average.
Sure.
If it's not up here, I'm not doing a good job.
Yeah. I know you're newer to this role, but I'll just ask you, it might be a state facility, but the priority for water is visible because I think it's Federal Way, Highway 1 actually goes underneath the new river. And that was interesting as I was coming in here, that usually people are bridging over. In this case, the roadway actually goes under the river. Do you have any information about that or any history on that? It's just very unique to see that.
It's unique, and they talk always today there's conversations about bridges, tunnels. There's always a debate in that particular area as to what the future should look like. It's been like this, and it's a state thing.
Okay.
You don't see it anywhere else, so it's kind of neat. And I think it's like a Fort Lauderdale thing.
Yeah.
There can be, again, challenges, but I think we work well with our partners. If there's issues that come up, we have to call. And we have really good relationships when issues do occur, and they happen from time to time.
Sure.
Unique. Very unique, and you don't see it in a lot of places.
Yeah. So another unique thing here, you talked about hurricanes throughout your career. I just wanted to dive into that a little bit, because not all of our states are impacted by that, just to know. So we've got 5 categories, right?
Yep, got 1 to 5.
And I think when you were describing your experience, the highest you got to was a 3?
2.
2.
Probably a 2.
And even that one was pretty substantial. So how does that work for people working in coastal Florida, maybe not even coastal, but how do you balance that? There's never going to be enough money to fully prepare for maybe even a Cat 2, but certainly Cat 3, these things get to be national disasters. How does that work? You said that we're always just hoping and we don't want it to happen. We react when we can, but how does an agency deal with that?
There's just different things. You always want to be resilient as you can be. And this commission has been very supportive, because in 2023, just over there, City Hall flooded out.
Oh, interesting.
It was a loss because of a flooding event.
Okay.
It was just one of those rain bombs. I can't remember exactly how many inches of rain. It was a significant amount of rain in a 24 to 48 hour period. And City Hall flooded out, and that's why we're in this building. So one of the initiatives that was created was something called Fortify Lauderdale. And it's a program that is going to be funded to the tune of eventually over the next 10 years, about $1 billion and change. Phase 1 of it has been very successful so far, which has included 8 neighborhoods. And that's been about $330 million put into that first phase. It's created 11 pump stations. It's not done. We have 2 active projects that are currently under construction. One will get started shortly. One is a huge one. It's actually, I can show you. It's going to be right here.
And we're like right in here, right?
Yeah, we're like right here, but this one's actually going to be this one. It's going to be a $172 million stormwater infrastructure project that's going to create additional pump stations and create drainage throughout this whole community, which doesn't exist today.
Oh, wow.
So anytime it rains, this place is always flooded.
And that stays with your group because it's stormwater versus
Correct.
the
That's
utility
under
department?
that's under capital projects, and yes, it is. And the unique thing is that project is being done, and again, in another unique mechanism. We got an unsolicited proposal at the end of December, and because of the manner in which they've submitted, which had all these great things that were real beneficial to the city and an exponential time, and because of that pressing need to get that done there, they're anticipating it to be a 2-year project, and that's outstanding. And that's going to start probably in the next few months. We really expect substantial completion to be in a couple of years, and that will just do wonders for the Melrose Manors and Riverland Civic Association. Right now, they're defenseless. That's the only word I can use, but this project will be incredible. And then we're going to start design on our Fortify Lauderdale Phase 2, our first 3 projects this year as well. And we're creating more structures, which of course at the end of the day creates more maintenance, which you have to balance that with our operations team. At the end of the day, you're going to add 31 pump stations. You have to have people to maintain them. So we have to work through that as well. We have contractors and stuff like that, but you need staff when you're adding that kind of maintenance responsibility as well. So there's always challenges.
Sure.
And I think we've done a really good job. We get different little events that come through here, but we have a plan in place where we actively have staff that evaluate the conditions on a weekly basis. And we have contractors available through different contracts ready to go. We're also going to be deploying more temporary pumps during rainy season. We just got approval to get 5 of them more. It helps. It's not the end all be all and it doesn't solve everything, but at least it alleviates some of the flooding in these areas. At least cars can get by versus if you're not doing anything at all and you get 6-7 inches of rain.
It's like shut down.
Yeah. That's what happens. I learned a lot from my time in Miami Beach about having that aggressive a program. I brought that approach here because I think that the challenges that Miami Beach faces as it relates to stormwater and here are very similar, and you can just kind of take from your own experience what works and apply it in a place that has similar challenges. So that's been a benefit to me to be able to do that.
That's great. As we wrap up here, I wanted to talk about kind of looking ahead. We were talking about those coming up after us, right? The next generation or people early in their career transitioning into public works. What other advice might you give to folks either new to the profession or coming up early career?
I would say to anybody coming into this profession, it's an incredible profession. There's just so many opportunities. Every city is a little different with how they're structured. The Public Works Department, some of it includes engineering, some of it includes utilities, depending on the size of the city. So it's a vast amount of different opportunities for young people. I would say to people, when I came in, I felt like I came in alone. I didn't really have any friends or anything that were in similar roles to me at a young age. All my friends were like way older than me. They were either assistant directors or directors of public works in cities. You know, I didn't have that. I think today more younger people are trying to get in. I always encourage in my departments anyways to have interns and let people come and see what it's like. But the advice I give people is there are numerous paths you can take in this field. If you're an engineer, being a city engineer in a place is great. That can also end up leading to be a capital projects director somewhere, utility director. If you're not necessarily that, if you're just looking to grow in leadership, in management roles, there's a lot of them. If you have specialties, you learn. I can tell you, you can't go to school necessarily to ever have a title where you're the fleet management division manager or you're the solid waste division manager. I think if you come in and you have a willingness to learn and you want to show that this is something you could see as a career, anybody can do this with the right background, with the right mentors, with the right leadership, and they can grow. It's all about what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. You don't have to have, like me, I have a master's degree in public administration, a bachelor's in. It didn't necessarily mean that public works was where I was going to end up. But I think, again, if you put the time in, you make the effort, you put yourself around people that have a good grasp and have a thorough understanding of this business, you can strive, you can be very successful, and there's so many opportunities to grow in local government in this field. And public works is always going to be here. It's never going to be a field that people say, we're going to have to cut 100 people, because it's essential services. Mm-hmm. And cities are not going to say, we're not going to provide essential services in public works. The garbage is always going to get picked up. The medians always have to be taken care of. The beach has to be cleaned. Potholes have to be fixed. So it's a field where those services are just essential. I almost say it's sometimes recession-proof. But you really have to have good leaders around you. And I will tell you, in my career, I was so lucky and so blessed to have people around me and that helped me get to where I was. And I was at a time where there were people that they don't tell you anything. Everything's just what you need to know. But I happen to work for someone who started my career that shared everything with me. So I really got the full gamut and understanding of how this field works and what the kind of challenges are and how political the world we work in at different times. My advice to young people, just embrace this field, see what you like in it. There's different roles you can be in. Enjoy the challenges that come with it, and always look to someone in a senior role that can be a good mentor to you so you can grow.
That's great. So don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, help others as well, right? As you ask for help, give help as well. I think that's always good. You can enter the field from many different categories as you talked about. With that, we really appreciate your time here today. Brad Kaine from City of Fort Lauderdale. We appreciate he and his staff giving us an option to bring in the Public Works podcast to his offices here. Great view. I'm going to spend some time checking out the canal system you have here because that's very unique. And we will see you next time on the Public Works podcast, again, reporting from downtown Fort Lauderdale. This has been Shane Silsby. Have a great day. Thank you.
Joseph here, Public Works Podcast.
Shane here as well.
All right, so you just watched some cool content. All we need from you is to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us get the message out. It helps us propagate the gospel of Public Works. So if you have free time, which you probably have 2 or 3 seconds, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so more people can follow us.
That's right. All we're trying to do is highlight the public works industry.
That's it.
Make those professionals trying to improve your communities look good and raise awareness and credibility of public works.
Yes.
It's easy to do.
Once again, thanks for watching. If you have any content ideas, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and Shane or I will answer them within a week of you putting it in there, and we'll get you the answer that you need.
Thank you very much.